Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our second Thursday, January 2025 meeting of the Houston Electric Vehicle Association. We're kind of light on participants in the room because that bad weather we have out there, but we appreciate the hardy souls that have made it in this evening. And I think we'll have a greater number of folks on our Zoom line, which is fine. And of course, as usual, we'll put this recording out on our YouTube channel for folks to catch later. Folks who either can't catch it tonight or want to review things in the future, because we got an exciting evening this evening with Mark Hanson, no relation, but Mark is in Virginia, and he's got all kinds of good things going on over there. So we'll get to Mark in a second, but first we want to run through our start PowerPoint, because this being the first meeting of the year, we want to talk about some of the great things that happened last year, so folks are familiar with those. And so somebody's saying I'm a bit muted. Okay, I can like
Yeah, I
this.
can barely hear you.
Okay, better with the mic this way?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I should have thought of that because this mic is very directional. Good, good. All right. So, for everyone who can see the screen, there's lots of smiling faces there. That was just last month. It seems like a year ago, but our social comes up every December. And so we were over at the Katz's Deli and just had a really good time. Started collecting people outdoors, and then we moved indoors, and people are, of course, welcome to come and go. And it's just really fun to see and talk to everyone, because we particularly encourage folks to bring family members. And that way, those family members get to see what it is that we do the other 11 months of the year, who's getting together, all our regular monthly meetings. And so you can see some of us there in those photos. And some of the things we did last year: Texas Electric School Bus Festival. Yeah, we participated in that. And so you can see there school bus and a number of cars, and including an original roadster there. That's really fun. And it's great. Been hearing about electric buses going all over the country. I just read about one that was at a school district in Arizona a couple of days ago. So, and here's one of the Earth Day events that we had. Again, you can see all the different cars, and there's a Cybertruck. Yeah, yeah, that's great to see the oldest and the newest, right, Colin? Yeah. And on Discovery Green, there's some of us holding up a sign, and more cars, and our feather flag for the electric vehicles from the national organization, which we always encourage folks to join if they're interested, the national organization. So our chapter has no dues of its own, but we do get a little bit of money when folks decide to join the national organization and pay the annual dues there. And IKEA is always a fun thing to do. We do that. It's been a number of Aprils every year that we've done that. They have the great big concrete pad, and it's great to bring out all the different cars. And we catch a lot of folks that are not just particularly coming to an EV event, but we catch just regular Houstonians who happen to be go shopping that day. And that's always great to get to tell them how much fun we have with our EVs. Another fun place we were at was the Garage Ultimate, and it's great to see the teddy bear driving his small size Cybertruck there. But a lot of car enthusiasts out there. The idea of Garage Ultimate is folks that love their vehicles so much they want to have an extra garage besides the one at their house, and they have kind of a little clubhouse, and so folks get together there to uh, have fun together. Yeah. And here they invited us to come on out and bring our cars, and folks got to test drive. Our members are always really good at having people they don't know drive their cars, letting them take drives around. In this case, it was around the garages there. And so people can experience everything from the Roadster up through the Cybertruck that way. And then we did Wings and Wheels in September. So you can see an old-time airplane refueling tanker truck next to the Cybertruck there, so it's kind of fun. So there's a lot of good volunteers there at the 1940 Air Terminal Museum, and we were the wheels part of the Wings and Wheels, and had a good time and got to talk to people who both knew that we had the Wings and Wheels event and folks that were just coming out to the Air Terminal Museum that day. Lots of families with kids. It's good. Clean Cities at Sci-Fair, so more involvement with electric buses, which is good.
I got to drive a school bus, electric school bus.
You got to drive the school bus. Hey,
They let us drive them.
all right. That sounds like another one of those fantasies, always wanting to drive a school bus. Yeah, I like that. And then we took our vehicles out to the Houston Botanical Garden a couple of times. And that was real nice because, again, we're just interacting with lots of everyday folks. On the left-hand photo, you see just one of those everyday folks talking to Kevin, our secretary of the club. And so he's explaining the things that are going on there in the back of the Cybertruck, which includes a fun little electric, what do you call it? Go-kart? Go-kart, I guess.
A go-kart,
Yeah.
crazy cart.
Crazy cart, because you spin around in circles real easily in that. So, and here we have the NDO, National Drive Electric Week. So it was really fun to talk to people who are purposely coming out to learn about electric vehicles. You can see an electric motorcycle there as well. So here's a year in review summary with some of the different things.
This is the National Drive Electric. So
Okay.
we're seeing how many events they sponsored or encouraged, and people engaged, EVs displayed, so forth.
Yeah, so that's what drives that big number, because it's the national, not our chapter. Yeah.
And this is the second page to that. I like this. I received the information I was looking for from people who own electric cars without having to suffer through high pressure from salespeople. I like that.
Definitely. Yeah, we like getting information out to folks because we just like electric vehicles. And I joined this chapter in 1994. And so I've seen a lot of development in the vehicles. And of course, everyone's been coming and going since then. There are folks before that too, of course.
If you bought a car recently, and most dealerships are pretty awful. So it's you need owners to help, I think.
Yes. There's been a number of times that I, with one of our other members, have gone, like when a new vehicle gets introduced, we hear there's one available at a dealership, we go up there, and what happens, lo and behold, we're teaching the salespeople about the car that they're supposed to be selling. Yeah. Okay, and here, 10 meetings, 10 videos. Okay. So this is what you can see if you just do a YouTube search for us. And another event, well, this is upcoming event, the Automotive Show, as opposed to Automotive Show, because they want to talk about automobiles and boats here in Houston, coming up starting the end of this month. And I was looking online, and it said that the lower price pre-sale tickets, that ended the end of December. So now they just have regular price tickets. But there might even be ways to get free tickets anymore. I don't know who you have to know to do that. But
any word on whether Evolve is looking for support like they did 2 years ago?
I know that Evolve is going to be there. They're going to have vehicles. Like last year, for example, I got to test drive a F-150 Lightning. I don't know whether they're looking for volunteers or not, but you could directly contact. So they in the course of 2024, they did rejuvenate Evolve, Evolve, and so I'm not sure exactly how they're organizing things, but yeah, through the emails they send out, or just looking them up online, you could certainly.
We have played owner in the past, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure that they're looking for that.
Yeah, last year I contacted them and they weren't, but they were in the middle of that organizational reset. In 2023, I was actually hosting. I was one of the people that was hosting their rides, so I was giving people rides in the brand new Lightning and the ID4 and et cetera. What they had like 5 different cars out there, and I got to give people rides in them.
Oh,
Yep.
well, yeah, giving people rides is a good way to do things. Yeah.
We should all try and see what they say.
Yeah, that would be a good way to get involved. So here's our page on the benefits of joining the EVA. So you can see things there. And of course, just the interactions at meetings like this, and then our December socials are always a good thing that folks come out. And of course, we encourage folks to speak up, ask questions. We get new folks who come in tied together with existing members who have known how to, connect up an electric motor to an axle of a given vehicle or something, that might have questions about. So that's where people find a lot of value, of course, is that type of interaction. Nobody wants to start some big project without getting some pointers, I think. So good. And our one sheet that we get from National, these we encourage everyone to take one with them. They age, they get old really fast because new vehicles thankfully keep coming out. So yeah, you can take some if you think you might be able to pass them out to some neighbors up and down the street who might be interested, or anybody. So
This at the December social, I was talking to somebody who was interested in doing a rally. So we're looking for anybody who's done them or has experience or is interested in doing one.
Yeah.
Say those my EVA sheets with all the latest cars on them. Can you order those in California or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. National has those available.
And you can download one and just print them too.
Oh, okay.
Faster than having something show up by
Right.
snail mail it gives you an opportunity to get it faster. There's a little bit more cost. So welcome, come on in.
Yeah.
Have a seat. And so you can go either route, whatever fits better for your needs.
Okay.
So, all right. So any questions? I'm seeing more people that have braved the rain. Maybe took a little more time to get through, of course, with underpasses in Houston tending to get flooded and stuff. Sometimes you have to alter your route on days like this, but better to be safe and not try to get through water than when you don't know how deep it is and then still get here. Good. So yeah, welcome to everybody in the room. And Colin.
Mark, go ahead and share your presentation when you're ready.
Oh, mine? Okay. Let's see if it share. Did that
Yeah, and while you're doing that, I'm looking again at the chat, and everyone's welcome to put comments or questions in the chat. And so what we'll do, Mark, is both ask folks to put questions that they have in the chat, or just to ask them verbally, whatever they like. And you can ask folks to either ask real time or hold them to the end, whatever you prefer.
Yeah, whatever. If you have a question, just ask. Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah, we started as electric car club back in the 90s and doing conversions, and then we wanted to be like a doer, hands-on kind of club, and so we sort of gravitated more to solar as time went on. So that was, I guess, more of a group activity. So as far as the amount of hours of labor, like I converted my Carmen Ghia for like 600 hours of labor into it, and that the same amount of hours I could do about 6 solar homes for low and middle income. So our club is we're of course affiliate with the Electric Vehicle Association, but we look at it like a 3-legged stool where electric cars, solar and wind all working together. So let's see. Not sure why it's not advancing. hitting the space bar. It worked before. Not sure why it's not. My escape. My screen's locked up. Eh,
Yeah.
and there's next. Okay.
Oh,
Why
okay.
it's-
Very good.
All right. So, yeah, it's just some projects. You can go on our REEVA.DIY.org website and click on Project Gallery and see our solar. We typically do several projects a year. So, you know, it's
And
DIY.
roughly how many folks do you have in your group?
We got 119.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah, and it's kind of it. It seems like, you know, initially we had a lot of people coming out to all the projects, and then it's kind of petered down to the diehards. It's like I'm in Habitat for Humanity too, and you have these repeat people that come at all the projects, and then most of the people kind of drift off once they get their house done. So that
Yeah.
was my little conversion, Carmen Gia there that I had. We
Oh,
did
all
this.
right, a Carmen Gia. I love it.
Yeah, that was a 74 lithium iron phosphate batteries. But I sold that to a guy in California on eBay. And now I just have a Tesla, Bolt, and a Leaf. So we have 3 electric cars. We don't have anything that's gas.
Mhm.
It's just some of the folks in our club, and just some projects that we've done. I generally encourage people to do ground mount arrays because volunteers can't fall off the ground. I guess you can fall off a ladder, but so and then it's also better. You're not poking holes in people's roofs, and maintenance wise, it's better, and the panels run cooler. So you know all the microinverters we use end phase microinverters, so they run cooler and tend to have less dropouts. And we discovered that the very top inverters will fail if all the panels are put together in a row like that. So now we have gaps in between the horizontal rows to alleviate that problem. So there's been some lessons learned over time with not a lot of help from the manufacturers. Like we had some panels that would pop out in high winds, and found the bolts we were getting from Iron Ridge, little T-bolts, would pop out in high winds. So now we use hex heads. You know, just little things over time we learn about.
So even a ground mount with total open to the air on the back, you still found that it was worthwhile to have an extra gap between the top
Oh,
row?
not the ground mount, the
Ground mount,
like
okay.
the roof mount. See, on this one, there's a gap between the rows, so cool air comes under the top row as well. And I was mount the microinverters, mount them down low as opposed to high, so they tend to run a little cooler. We were getting some over this is a period of about 10 years, but we were getting some inverters that were failing in the top middle when this gap was closed here, when they're all just put together more like that. When they're all put together like that, the top microinverters will tend to fail after about 10 years, whereas they won't if you have that gap there. But it takes 10 years to figure that out.
Right, that's
So
why I like it when people can learn from other folks who've gone before. So that's really good. That good lesson learned. We do have one member, and he paid a little bit extra to have the panels on his roof mounted an extra 6 inches higher, and he was doing
okay,
it for cooling purposes. I don't know
that's
that he
that,
skipped space between the rows, but he did do that, and I've seen it, and it does kind of look a bit different than other installations you see on roofs because he purposely wanted it higher. But he's saying it is running cooler. Yeah.
yeah. And we like the microinverters because you can monitor all the panels individually. And if any one craps out, you'll see the diagnosis. They'll say panel number 23, disconnect, low voltage, high, whatever, high current, something. You know, it'll give you a diagnosis on it, and so you can quickly find it. Whereas you just have a series string, the system degrades over time, and you wonder why, and you know, it's just a problem. Also, you have high voltage DC running around, which can be hazardous.
Mhm.
And these little inverters, I'm sorry, inverters, but data collection boxes that they're calling the Gateway or Envoy. And it's just a data collection box that picks up the 120 kilohertz riding along the power line called the microinverters. They always want to sell it to you in a combiner box, which is fine if you're coming off a roof. But the problem is the circuit board is embedded inside this box, and you have to see these LEDs and press these buttons. And so I found, which if you put an outlet on there, then it's no longer considered a hardwired device under code, and it's just considered an appliance. So then your inspector wise, it goes over a lot better if you mount it like that on a board. But they won't tell you that when you buy the thing. They'll sell it to you in this big dorky box with a bunch of stuff inside that you're probably not going to use, for all these branch circuits, unless you have a specific application for that. But anyway, so it's that, and just some more pictures. I got a Bergie. We did that. I don't necessarily recommend the wind now because it's still $5 a watt. And a lot of the small wind companies have gone belly up except Bergie. I've got a Bergie in my backyard, a 1 kilowatt, and we did a 10 kilowatt. But we ran into a problem where the power company had a 10 kilowatt renewable energy limit. And so this couple, they met their limit with the wind turbine, and then they weren't getting what they expected. And they wanted to add some solar, but they couldn't add solar because they're already at their 10 kilowatt limit, even though they're only getting 3 kilowatts out of it. But yeah, it was kind of a shaggy dog story, and they ended up actually taking it down and just went with some solar. But for residential, solar's better, and for utility scale, wind is better because it's like $1 a watt planted for wind, but you can't make a 2 megawatt solar panel. So it just depends on what you're doing. So residentially, you're about $2 a watt DIY, or about $4 a watt if you pay a contractor. So so just some little information there. This was the front of I had a little Porsche 914 that had shown the front of the batteries.
Another fun car, yeah.
Yeah. So
So
I guess the key. I'm sorry.
to
Go
interrupt
ahead.
you, Mark. You said you're in the Roanoke area. How far afield do you guys support people with do-it-yourself installations?
We're about an hour radius of Roanoke. If it's past about an hour drive radius of Roanoke, I'll tend to shy away from it. I have gone further, but then it kind of turns into a Mark project instead of a club project.
Sure.
So,
Is there anybody up in the Charlottesville area?
no, I mean, I know a guy in Minnesota who does this. It's DIY, but it would be nice. They could just copy our model. You just need a lawyer to write up a CYA form when people sign up, and you need SEMA volunteer insurance. So, and then you need to be like part of an overall national group. Otherwise, you have to go through all this legal stuff to call yourself a separate club. You're just totally by yourself. So that's why we've always liked to be part of the Electric Vehicle Association. Is because then you're kind of under that umbrella as far as the club goes. And we still do a lot of electric car stuff. I mean, at Earth Day, we'll bring all electric cars to that. And there's a couple other events that pop up throughout the year, but we're not as active as you guys, it looks like, as far as like organizing electric car meets. Although we've done a few rallies in the past. It's been more, the people in our club tend to be more hands-on and want to build stuff. And so since we went away from the conversions, because people weren't really converting that much anymore, so what are we going to do? And this solar gig seems like a good thing until if the power company kills it next year, then I guess we'll have to go back and regroup and just go back to electric car rallies or whatever, do something else. Because then it'll be like California, where the ones that are left are all battery backup, and they're pretty expensive. They're as high as like $10 a watt. But the key thing to remember is it's 4.5 sunny hours per day in Roanoke, and you just look up the insolation map like for Houston. So if you have a 10 kilowatts AC, that'll be like 45 kilowatt hours a day or 1,300 a month. So you have to back figure. The power company looks at the past 12 months of your usage to size your system. They don't want you to overproduce. So I have to, when I do my solar site survey and I submit the schematic to the power company, then I have to go through their math to make sure. Now I'll always set the DC watts up to about 20% over the AC watts. So the NOCT ratings over time, the 25-year warranty, as they depreciate, it's like how Tesla does their batteries, or electric car companies their batteries. They'll set the window of operation greater than what you're actually seeing on the screen, kind of thing. So as the panels die over time, like everything in life wears out, doing what's doing, of course. But so it's about 0.5% per year on the East Coast and 1% per year on the West Coast, because they have like an 8-hour sun day. So you factor that in, and you want to have about a 20% overage on your DC wattage. So if I have a 10 kilowatt AC rating on the inverters, then I'll have 12 kilowatts worth of panels. And that way the customer homeowner won't see the degradation over time. It won't be as obvious. Anyway, so I do all that stuff, and so yeah, I kind of went over that. So about $2 a watt doing it yourself, or $4 a watt if you pay a contractor. We like to do kind of low middle income, but I'm not real good at weeding out people like Habitat is. We come over and some people have some fancy houses, and if we don't have a project going on, all right. But anyway, so, and I always encourage people to do the insulation and all the energy efficiency stuff first before they go solar. Solar is kind of the icing on the cake. You have a lot quicker payback of insulation and doing all the energy efficiency, star, whatever, LED lighting. I went into one house and they had space heaters in every room, and I said, well, you need to put in some mini splits or do something first. You've got some other things to take care of, because a lot of contractors, they'll just slap in panels. If you want panels, they'll put them on an old roof, or if somebody's got a leaky house, they won't tell them that, and they'll just do what they say and have the panel. So a lot of times I'll see them even pointing the wrong way, not even pointing in the right direction.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, yeah. So yes, I go out, Solar Pathfinder. Okay. And that's just microinverters. We like the microinverters because of the monitoring, and you can see everything going on, and also the voltages. It's a lot safer than having 200 volts DC running around the roof. So yeah, I do the bill of materials. I do all schematics. I provide the schematics for getting the permit, so that the homeowner has to get the permit, because we don't have liability insurance. I'm not a general contractor, although I'm a master electrician. Insurance company likes to see that, but they don't want me to have liability, because we have a couple solar contractors in our club, for people who don't want to go with the club. But it's they like one told me, he says they'll have a kitchen fire, and he went through this, so that the whole house burns down. It's a total loss. They had a kitchen fire, and then the insurance company, because they don't want to pay $500,000, they'll go after the last guy who touched the wiring. And so then he was in court. He's an LLC and has, pays the extra $750 a year for the insurance. So we don't want to get in all that, because then we turn into a full contracting company, and I don't want to do that. We're a volunteer club for low middle income solar. It's kind of our focus.
So really, the legal folks, even though there's a problem from a kitchen wiring problem or whatever, the last organization that touched a house's wiring gets blamed for whatever faulty wiring is in the house.
Right. They get pretty
Absolutely.
bloodthirsty.
Absolutely.
Yep.
They hold it on the last person to touch the system to have noticed that there was a problem.
Yep. Doesn't matter. It was a solar array, whatever the hell it was. It was a kitchen fire. He went through this whole scenario. So he said, that's why you don't, you want to be careful when you're messing with somebody's wiring, is you want the homeowner to assume liability and get the permit and have their name on the permit. And then your neighbors helping neighbors. Virginia law, see, different states are different. Virginia law says that any homeowner can do whatever they want to their own house, and anybody can help them. So we're kind of working under that. So the homeowner
Including
gets the permit,
electrical
we're
and-
helping.
Including electrical and plumbing and things like that, anybody can do anything?
Yeah, yep. I pulled a permit. I did my whole addition, my garage, did all the plumbing, the electrical, the carpentry. I drew up the plans. They had to meet code, and then the inspector comes and blesses it and signs off on it. They always nitpick something, but yeah. So in Virginia, you can do everything, and now in Maryland, you cannot. Maryland, the Solar City and Standard Solar and some of these larger companies, even Grid Alternatives, they get the state incentives. They have an agreement with the state, and the state said, we'll keep the DIYers out. So the state says, thou shalt have a solar contractor, period. So you could not operate this club in Maryland. And I suspect California is probably similar. So if the state's actually more progressive, they actually don't allow the DIY type things to go on, because you have these larger corporations that are in bed with the legislators, and they kind of set the rules.
Texas is more city by city.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly on Houston proper. I live in a smaller city inside of Houston,
Mm-hmm.
and I just had to convince the city inspector that I could do the job according to code.
Mm-hmm.
So when I wanted to put a level 2 charger in my garage, which required a new sub panel, I drew up a set of plans. I ran it by a buddy who was a master electrician to make sure that I hadn't missed anything, and then I submitted to the city, and 2 hours later they told me where to deposit, send my check.
Yeah.
Of course, this also was during COVID, but they didn't come physically inspect. They had me send them photos.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Now, one thing I've found is all the inspectors are individual people. And so county by county, and even in the same county, sometimes we'll have a guy just say, yeah, it looks good, whatever. And then other times, like this last job, they wanted a rating of the roof and some professional engineer to evaluate that it'll withstand the weight of 4 pounds per square inch, even though it's rated at 30 pounds. So there are a lot of extra things, that monkey wrenches that they can throw in on an individual basis.
And that can actually vary within the same community by which inspector you draw.
Yeah. So it's not as uniform as I'd like. I'd like everything to be all the same, but it's not. So anyway, yeah, I guess it's a good time. Yeah, there's a 30% federal tax credit that's probably going to go away because who got elected. And let's see, our state doesn't have anything. Maryland has 25%. If you go on desireusa.org, you can click on your state and see what your incentives are and all your rules and regulations for net metering. So then it's how to figure payback. The payback here is running about 7 years now, DIY, and about 14 years if you use a contract. So yes, go through that. The simple math, it's per year and the warranty. And so yeah, installations, tight, ventilate, right. So then I kind of go off in the weeds here with this. I just added this on. This really isn't. I found out I was really high in radon here, and most people around me. I ended up doing a DIY radon installation because they wanted like $3,000, and I got the parts for like $300 and did it myself. So
Is that with radon coming in through basements?
Yeah, yeah. If you look on the EPA map, the East Coast, the Appalachian Mountains are really high in radon.
Mm.
Depleted uranium, I had no idea. I just sort of stumbled into it. I I got a first alert test kit from Lowe's. I mailed off to a PO box in Texas, and then I get this email back in all red caps. You're like a hazardous waste dump. I was like 12 picocuries per liter, and I was supposed to not be over 4. And
Uh,
so I was like super high. And I was like, oh, I've been breathing. Because if you get cancer and you don't smoke, odds are it's caused by radon. And so
oh,
it's apparently it's a big problem. But a lot of people aren't aware of it because it's, you don't smell it or anything.
yeah,
Just kind of,
it's not discussed much here in Houston because no houses to speak of are built with basements in Houston, because if you built a house with a basement, you'd have an in-ground swimming pool under your house.
oh, because you have a lot of rain.
You have a very high water table. We're very
Oh,
close to sea level, and
oh, right.
when it rains in Houston, it takes days and days for it to drain because there's really
Oh, yeah. So yeah, you
no
don't have
water.
that problem. So
Yeah.
anyway, so, and then I did a blower door test for energy efficiency, and this kind of goes through my little details. I don't know if that's really here nor there for you folks. Just how I installed it. And, but anyway, some little things I ran into, and these are these are recommended gauges. Um, the one on the right there, and at 4, that's 546 parts per million of CO2. So when I sealed the house up real tight to make it real energy efficient, then my CO2 went way up. It's like 1,500 parts per million, which is kind of unhealthy. It gets over that, you're kind of tired. You don't know why, and it turns out we just had high CO2. We're just rebreathing each other there. And then I take the little thing on airplanes, and because I drive everybody nuts around me, on buses and hotels. And it turns out buses are terrible. They run around 3,000 or so because they're just sealed up
Really?
boxes. They used to
Wow.
be able to open the windows on buses, but all the modern buses you can't open the windows.
Right, right.
There's a hatch in the back the bus driver's supposed to open, but they never really are educated about it. But anyway, so that's kind of that. That's my little radon meter. So I think that's, yeah. Turn windows closed. Okay. So I guess do I unshare? Am I unshared or I guess
Yeah,
I'm good. All right.
yeah. It's good to see you there on the screen. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, this is really good to hear about all the goings on at your club there. We have some members who are also into conversions. One that's a really fun one is 1959 Austin Healey Bug-Eyed Sprite,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
also bright red like your car was. And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's always nice to see fun conversions. That's why I like seeing the Carmen Ghia and such.
Yeah. I did a Geo Metro, and I had a Geo Tracker, and I had a Sebring Vanguard City car from Florida originally, and super bumped that up to like 60 volts. Remember, that was my first one. So yeah, and I had a Cushman, because I called it a Cush Woman because sometimes women drive it. It was like a three-wheel meter maid that I converted. Just different cars over the years, and then I just kind of moved away from conversions and more to this kind of activity for something to do.
Mhm. No, solar is something that's also goes along with a lot of our club members having it, and in fact,
Yeah.
some folks here might know already that my wife and I named our first EV plus PV, and
Oh yeah,
yeah, and a lot of times people just ask, well, which do you get first? And it's like doesn't really matter. If you get one, you're likely to get the other second.
yeah. I did an electric boat too. Had some PV on
Nice.
top of that. It was a catamaran. Basically, went about 7 miles an hour, about 30 miles.
Mhm. And I was talking with one gentleman today at lunch about the Aptera, and if you're familiar with that, that's a
Oh yeah,
car being developed that has the PV right on the vehicle.
yeah. How's that Aptera doing? Are they selling any of them or?
Well, they haven't gotten into production yet, but I
Hmm.
believe out at CES they were showing their production intent version of the vehicle. So they've had to make some compromises in engineering over the last couple of years on the road to making a producible vehicle that doesn't have anything that can't really be built in large numbers at a reasonable cost. So they've had to change a few things, which
Yeah.
there's pluses and minuses to that, but it's all in the world of engineering that you try to
Yeah.
make things that can really be built. And I've been out there, as you may know, the national organization in the past couple of years have had the annual meeting out at the Aptera facility in
Oh yeah.
Carlsbad, California.
Mhm.
And I got to ride in one of the Apteras, the beta version or gamma version. And I couldn't drive it because they only wanted one of their engineers to drive it. But it was very impressive as we went around outside the building. And so they've been doing a lot of good engineering work for quite a while.
Mhm.
And they've, I believe, settled on everything they want in their production vehicle. So those early investors should be getting them, like, I don't know, in a year, something like that. But they've uh, been talking a lot at CES, and I'm wanting to go and look up the videos that have been recorded of what they've shown the public at the Consumer Electronics Show. But it's yeah, really exciting to see that vehicle is going to come to fruition.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a really neat vehicle. See it from that.
Hmm. Yeah. So yeah, we've had folks convert all kinds of things. Somebody converted a lawnmower to electric,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and
That's neat.
someone else converted a recliner to electric drive.
Oh yeah. Is that? I remember that. I think I saw him on the EV discussion list.
Yeah.
Otmar Obenhaich or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
He was at Burning Man. He had a love couch or something running around on it. It was
mm.
electric.
But back as far as the annual meetings, my understanding is that this year the national organization will have it on the East Coast in May. So I don't know where along the East Coast, but it's obviously be closer for you to make it than when
Oh
it was
yeah.
in California the last couple of years.
That'll be good. Yeah. I guess they'll advertise it hopefully when they decide.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll all be seeing things about it
Mhm.
because it's not until May this year, whereas it's been January the last couple of years.
There's a Clean Energy Expo in May too.
Mm.
I think that's in Phoenix.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good, good. So.
Mostly wind power. Well, I used to work for GE Wind and go to that every year.
Uh-huh. Okay. So folks in the room have questions for Mark or yeah. So let's get the microphone to you.
We've got a remiss about cleaning our solar panels, and I'm just wondering, we've not been cleaning our solar panels. I've had them about 4 years, and I
Okay.
think we've cleaned them once, and I'm just wondering if we're really maybe not doing ourselves any favors by ignoring that.
So
And
what do you want to say, Mark? And then I can add some
On
comments.
cleaning, if you live on the west coast and it's dusty, it probably makes more sense to clean them. I had this 10-year scunge on mine. They looked pretty dirty. And so I measured the peak watts one day, like 2 clear days back to back. So I scrubbed the hell out of them, got a long brush, got the Windex squirt for using, it goes on your garden hose. Consumer Reports recommended that for doing remote windows or solar panels. So you hose it down. I scrubbed it with a long brush, and got them all squeaky clean. And the next day I only measured like a 1% difference. And it was, I mean, to look at them, they look filthy. And I went from fairly dirty looking to clean, and they looked a lot nicer, but the actual production didn't change all that much. I was kind of surprised. So now out west, people tell me that, if you get a pretty good sized buildup on it where it's actually impeding the sun, then it makes a big difference where you really have to clean them when you see that buildup. But if you're getting a fair amount of rain, like we get 40 inches average a year, that's usually enough to keep them fairly clean. Now down in Houston, you're getting like what, 56 inches of rain a year? Is that about right? I don't know. But
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
you
this
get,
maybe
yeah, you get good thunderstorms and good gully washers, cloud bursts and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you not to clean your solar panels. I mean, but I wouldn't, I wouldn't get too worked up over it. If they start looking dirty and just want them to look nicer, you clean them, but you're not going to see a huge difference in output from clean to dirty unless it's really caked on there. Sometimes the pollen will get real thick here, and I'll spray that off because you can see that kind of build up on them.
Figure
But
recipe.
it's not a huge deal. I guess it's not a big deal sometimes.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've heard is that in western areas where it's real dry and dusty and that can sit on the panels for months and months at a time, that can cut down production. But yeah, as you just said at the end there, getting on the roof has bigger dangers maybe than the small amount of difference.
Right. Yeah, you want to go to Lowe's and get the long extension with the brush like you might use on your car, the slide brushes, and if it's not too caked on, you can just use that Windex. It's remote for doing high windows, and it screws on the end of a garden hose. There's another manufacturer that makes it too. The Lowe's Home Depot sells it, and just you squirt it on in the suds mode, and then it kind of foams up on there, and then it says wait 5 minutes or something, then turn it into rinse mode, and then spray it off. And usually that's good enough to pretty much clean it off without risking life and limb. You don't want to scrub it. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Good. So other questions, folks? Folks in the room? Folks
Something to
online?
add to that. I think that the yellow pollen can actually help. It doesn't hinder as much. If the whole panel is glowing yellow, then it's actually grabbing hold of the light and pushing it into the panel as well. So until it turns brown after that first rain and runs down to the bottom of the panel and it's starting to mess up the bottom of the panel, I don't worry about it. But when it's yellow and it's on the panel is when I don't worry about it. When it gets down and it's turning brown on the bottom of the panel and it's taking up like 2 inches of the panel, that's when I scrub my panels. I wait until it's down and dirty.
So you don't see any wattage difference when there's pollen on it. In other words,
Correct. It actually may help it because it's
Now,
making the whole
some of it
panel
does.
glow.
Interesting.
Thanks, John. Yeah, that's really good to know your experience. Yeah, John's a really experienced member here. Lots of good background from him.
So I just, for grins and giggles, looked at the first June I had my panels and the subsequent June since then. And peak power production midday there's no noticeable degradation. And I've never washed my panels.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
How
And
many
I've had
years?
them. I'm closing in on 4.
Okay.
Yeah. So 4 years in Houston, never washed them. And I can't tell you, peak midday sun. I picked the same day, looked at looked at the last 3 years. And the power is peaking out at the same level midday for production.
Very good. Good. Okay. And that's keeping your Bolt running, Seth? You have a Bolt, right?
I have 3 Chevy Bolts, and those charge. I'm abusing the hell out of a time of use plan, charging them. Well, yeah, they're not charging right now. They'll start charging in an hour and a half.
Okay. Very good.
Because I don't pay nothing between 9 o'clock and 7 in the morning.
Okay. You got one of those plans. Yeah. Mark.
Yeah, I'm abusing the hell out of a time of use plan.
Mark, for your information, this part of Texas is what we call deregulated. So there are independent retail electric providers, reps, and everyone here must choose one of those, and they compete against each other and they offer different plans. And some of them have plans that you can pay $0 for as much electricity as you can use at night, and then you pay a higher rate for your daytime usage. And
Oh, that's nice.
it's driven mostly because there's now so much wind in Texas.
Oh yeah.
And the wind tends to be stronger at night, and the overall demand on the grid is lower at night. And so to encourage people to use nighttime electricity, these plans have become popular. Yeah,
Yeah,
free night.
yeah, that's nice.
Mhm. And so, yeah, I've known other folks too that they have things that they can choose when to draw, and particularly electric vehicle charging, of course. Most people can choose when they want to charge. And so therefore, a plan like that can be advantageous. And
Yeah,
I,
Yeah.
go ahead.
and the other thing you can do is with a plan like that is if you have storage batteries,
Mhm.
you can charge them overnight.
Yep.
So you don't actually get to the point where you're pulling from the grid until late in the evening when your storage batteries are run down.
Mhm.
And that's usually just a summer phenomenon. I
Mhm.
pay for electricity from roughly mid-June to mid-October.
Mhm.
And even at my measly 3 cents a kilowatt hour, I build up a credit from mid-October till mid-June.
Ah, very good. Very good. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So, in addition to Seth, we have one member. He's got Tesla as his rep, retail electric provider, and they will, within certain limits, you can tell it you want to save a certain amount in case a storm comes or something. But basically, they will do the electricity arbitrage. Tesla will, as a rep, using your solar panels and your batteries. Your batteries, in that case, have to be Tesla Powerwalls to have Tesla as a rep. But he also finds that even though net kilowatt hours per year, he's a user in terms of dollars, he's on the plus side because the value of a kilowatt hour is different during different hours of every day of the year. And the Tesla rep keeps track of that, and it will either import or export power depending either from your batteries or from your solar array onto the grid, because there's times when a kilowatt hour can be worth a whole lot of money, like $5. And so they will take power out of your batteries and sell it on the grid. Yeah.
That's nice.
I wish they'd let me use my truck.
Yeah, it'd be nice if you
my
could use the
backup
big
battery.
battery in your truck
Hmm.
to do
nice.
that too. Yeah.
Well, actually, I think with Tesla, if you have the Tesla Powerwall and the Tesla electrical system and the Tesla branded charger and a Tesla that's bidirectional, they will let you use your vehicle.
So my solar panels are not Tesla. I got them before they would mount on a flat roof.
Yeah,
But I do have the truck and I have the gateway, and the truck will power the house if I lose power. And I have the Tesla electrical service for my house. I just signed up for that, so I can't really
Oh,
track it. It's
very
just
good.
I've only had it for 2 weeks. But they do not buy back my, off of my battery at peak times. I wish they would.
Do you worry about it shortening the life of the battery, using it that way?
I don't worry about none of the stuff I should worry about. My Model 3, I had it for 6 years, put 126,000 miles on it before I sold it to buy the truck, and I lost 11% in 6 years. So, and most of that was in the beginning. In fact, over the air update, I lost about 5%, and I think they buffered the battery from when zero used to be zero, and now zero is 10 miles or something.
Yeah.
So that's
yeah. I was gonna say
116,000.
it's still. You didn't actually lose that. That's still there in the battery, and it's a buffer.
Right.
And
That's what
and
I
if
said.
you actually ran it down to zero, it would keep running for a little bit.
I've been to zero 4 times on the 3 different cars, so not on purpose. It's usually a misturn when I'm on a road trip.
Okay.
I thought about doing that to my boat last Sunday coming back from Beaumont, but I ended up having to do a bio break. And since I was doing a bio break, I took the opportunity charge.
Yeah. It's I've had a couple of trips that I crept home at 30 miles an hour to make sure I made it.
But considering that you just got Tesla as your rep, you need to talk with Jim Thompson sometime and
Okay.
exchange notes and things like that, because he's been, as I said, real happy having Tesla as a rep. You know.
Well, I don't have the power walls and I don't have their system, but they are tied into. They installed the gateway and So,
Yeah, well, it may be, you know, a year from now, you decide to get one power wall or something like that, and then you could
Right.
get more
but right now, my
advantageous.
truck costs more than my condo, so I'm
Yeah.
not sure how wise that was.
Well, things keep developing. I mean, you mentioned bi-directional, and that's one of the things I think has frustrated a lot of car buyers, because these cars that are OEM made electric vehicles as opposed to a conversion typically aren't. Just now we're getting a couple on the road that are bi-directional, but typically they aren't bi-directional, and that's, yeah,
They
frustrating to a
actually
lot of
had to
people.
change out my charger. My original wall charger was not bidirectional, so they had to
Oh,
use a new charger and add the gateway and run a data cable and
okay.
charge me a ridiculous amount of money for very little work.
Okay,
But
so it
that-
wasn't just the gateway that was required, more was required, because I knew there was a
Yeah.
gateway requirement to be able to.
and
Yeah,
the
now you have to have a bidirectional charger.
right, the charger had to be compatible.
Okay, yeah, well, Cybertruck is the first bi-directional Tesla on the market. Yeah, the previous Teslas, none of them were bi-directional.
But that adds a lot of expense to the vehicle, doesn't it, to make it bi-directional?
Not really.
Well, I think it's not
Not-
the vehicle, it's this gateway.
The gateway came with my package because I
Oh.
bought the Founder Series, so
Oh, okay.
it was part of a, but they made me use somebody that they chose, and they charged me $3,000 to basically mount the gateway on the wall and tie it into my panel. I already had a wall charger, so all they had to do was fish a data cable down the conduit
Ah,
and attach. It's like, it was pretty easy stuff, but they still charged me $3,500 for it.
oh, as if it was a totally new
I only paid
installation with lots of
$250 to have the
copper.
charger installed.
Oh,
Like,
wow, wow.
But
So,
anyway.
yeah.
I just did.
Yeah,
it.
now from a technology point of view, what's in the car and the hardware on the car, yeah, a lot of our EVs, very similar models are marketed overseas, and they're bidirectional.
Interesting.
It's and with the same hardware. It's just different coding, and I think
Isn't that
some
going to
of
wear
that
out the battery faster? I mean, get more cycles on the battery.
they've been doing bidirectional charging in Europe for 10 plus years,
Wow.
and their battery experience there doesn't really look any different than our battery experience here.
Well, the interesting thing about the bidirectional is the only time I've ever needed it was for about a week just before they installed it.
Oh,
Yeah,
My power came back on, then they came and installed it, and I haven't needed it since. And in 20 years, I've not needed it before then. So, yeah, it's peace of mind.
yeah. Well, we've all kind of seen, and I don't know, Mark, if you've heard the news in Virginia there, but Texas has had a number of events where power has been not as reliable as people would like. And so there's a,
Oh, okay. Just for feeding your house, but the V2G thing I heard about years ago, vehicle to grid, is every day the power company during peak times would suck out of your car and back and forth every day. And if you do that every day, I mean, that's going to degrade the battery. But this is just for
Yeah.
power outages, is what you're saying.
yeah, that's the way it's set up for the most part in the States.
Okay.
Nissan Leaf, starting with the first model year in Japan, did V2G
Okay.
with the exact same vehicle they were shipping here.
Okay. But that's for power outages. That's not for daily back and forth.
And they're doing it in Japan. They've been doing it daily back and forth
Oh, daily.
for
Okay.
load leveling.
Load leveling. Wow. Okay. I didn't realize that.
Because most people will get home around 4 or 5, and that's when the demand of the grid gets high because people want to run their air conditioners or want to
Right.
cook their dinner.
That duck curve, yeah.
So vehicle to grid is great for smoothing that duck curve.
Mhm.
Yeah, the battery might be sitting at 50 or 60%, and they don't bring it down below 20 or 30. You can decide whether you're bringing it down, how far you're bringing it down, but generally you don't bring it down
Yeah.
below 20%,
Mhm.
and then it charges up in the overnight when the demand goes down. People were doing that with house batteries and solar here in Texas prior to the big freeze in 21 through a retail electric provider called Griddy that charged you real-time wholesale for what you pulled down, paid you real-time wholesale for what you set up. And there were people with, I knew somebody with about 20,000 kilowatt hours on their roof, about 30 kilowatt hours of storage battery, who was making a couple of $1,000s a month.
Wow. That's pretty good. Offset
And
any
then,
battery
and then
use.
that freeze in 21 when the grid went down and wholesale went to the legal maximum of $9 a kilowatt hour for 5 days. They gave it all back and really went out of business.
So I see that Robert Sanchez is written on the chat. I don't know, Mark, can you see the chat? I could
Let's
read it
see.
off.
It kind of faded away, I guess. Something about wind or something, I don't know.
Yeah, so what Robert is writing about here, with regards to industrial wind, the environmental drawback is that it kills birds, buildings and cats kill more, and that there's noise pollution. The industry is working on bird kills and radio wave disruption. With regards to solar, some say that the manufacture of solar panels uses a lot of toxic chemicals. What is the solar industry doing to reduce their already lighter environmental footprint?
Um, I don't know. I mean, over the life of a solar panel, it's doing more for the environment than actual manufacturing. That's like the old EV argument, or you know, I don't know how the exact math works out, but overall, it's better for the environment than not to do it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to ask the Chinese.
And I also think that the general media, sometimes they look at panels that have cadmium in them and they just kind of brush the entire solar panel building industry with the toxicity of cadmium, whereas the vast majority of solar panels, of course, are just made out of silicon, which is beach sand, with maybe a tiny bit of boron or phosphorus as doping material. And so you're not getting toxic chemicals in your typical solar panel. There are some that use cadmium, which is actually a byproduct of mining other materials, and it's got to go somewhere. And so it does go into certain, generally, I think the thin film panels, but the vast majority of panels are silicon, so they don't have toxic chemicals in them. But of course, as I say,
Right. Yeah, you can always look at an excuse not to do something, but
Yep.
yeah, and nothing's perfect, but
Yeah.
you're better off doing solar, wind, and electric cars than nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Anytime I think of a coal power plant, I always think of the ash pit and the number of those that have leaked and gotten into groundwater and yeah, the environmental negatives of coal are much greater than solar panels over their life, even if you just grind them up at the end of their 25 or whatever year life. Because as I say,
Yeah,
it's primarily
the people making those arguments ignore the environmental effects of mining and transporting fossil fuels. They only look at the environmental effect of the end use.
Yeah. So, Mark, we've got a comment from another Robert Rolnick, and he's done great things around the Houston area. He's asking, isn't the biggest challenge of what to do with the end of life of a panel?
What's that biggest challenge? Oh, the end of life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I know on eBay I see a lot of them. A friend of mine bought a bunch of them from the 90s, and they're Siemens panels, and he was trying to save money, and he got me to wire them up. So I had to wire 6 in a series parallel combination to mimic a new panel. And they're varying degrees of failing, I guess. It's kind of like buying used food, or used batteries. I mean, it's generally not a good idea to buy used panels, but some people do. But yeah, I don't, as far as recycling them, I don't know. I mean, I'm just kind of into the nuts and bolts of wiring and making the system work, as far as new systems go. But you could probably ask the great God Google and look for that sort of information. I don't know.
Yeah, Robert Rolnick added on regarding metals, et cetera. And what I've heard from a lot of these different, recycling of electronics and stuff, that compared to the percentage of the material out of raw ore out of the earth, you're getting much higher percentage when you're starting with whether it be a solar panel or a tub full of used cell phones that are past their lifetime, that just taking the metals out of those you're basically starting with a much richer ore than any ore that you can dig out of the ground. So it's always going to be more profitable. It's just a matter of moving those things to the place. I mean, if you mail each and every used cell phone, that's a lot of mailing and shipping and things just to get a
Yeah,
tub
it's
full of
it's
cell phones.
collection points,
Yeah.
process, and existing infrastructure.
Yeah. So if you can get the tub full of them, like I say, it's a much richer ore than you can get anywhere on Earth. But yeah, collecting them is kind of the problem. So Robert Sanchez, the other Robert, is typed into the chat. What is the average efficiency of the panels your organization installs? Why shouldn't a person wait until the industry reaches 30% plus?
It's all about cost per watt. The average is 67 cents per watt right now. So when you look
Okay.
at the distributors, the suppliers, you generally, it's like commodity item. It's like toilet paper now. There's
Mhm.
30 or so different manufacturers, and you just pick a tier 1 panel that has the 25-year warranty, and most of the distributors, that's all they'll carry anyway. The 1.5 inch hail rating. So you pick those panels regardless pretty much of the name. There's a lot of different companies out there now. So you just pick a panel around 67 cents a watt. You can get better, fine, but it's all about cost per watt. So if you have some laboratory curiosity that's 50% efficient and it costs you $5 a watt, you don't buy it. It just stays in the laboratory. So even though they do get better over time, and the panels that I have now are like 400 watts in the same size that about 15 years ago they're about 250 watts. So they have
Wow.
gradually it's an incremental kind of improvement, but it's all about cost per watt to see the light of day and make it out in the general distribution networks.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, from 250 watts to 400, that's for the same size panel. That's really,
Yeah, I've got them in my yard. Well, my 08 panels are like 155 watts, and that was considered the cat's meow with solar XBP solar back then. And now I've got about the same size at 225 watts, so about the same size of that. Now they have gotten bigger. Some of the larger ones are bigger. The newer ones. So they've kind of grown a little bit in size, but they've also gotten a little more efficient. But it's kind of an incremental thing. There haven't been any real leaps and bounds. It's a gradual process, but it's all
okay.
about cost per watt, because people
It's not quite doubling, it's not quite doing Moore's law like the chips do.
No, not.
No,
Yeah,
but
it's more of a physical improvement.
You have me trying to remember what the output was on the panel that I had on my sailboat 30 years ago.
okay, we've got a couple more things in the chat here. So the other one of the Sweet brothers, Eric Sweet, is asking, what are some of your favorite stories helping people get solar?
Favorite stories of why people get solar?
Or just people getting solar, helping people get solar. So not the why, but you can certainly add that in if you like. But what just events where it's been memorable for you to help someone get solar?
I don't know. I just kind of go through the process, and it's fun meeting new people. I can't really think of any one array that stands out. It's like I never met an electric car I never liked. I mean, it's I don't know. I'd say helping the people that really need the help. I feel better about than going over to somebody's house and I can see they can obviously afford a contractor. They got a swimming pool and a big fancy house and brand new cars and stuff like that. And they're trying to get a free solar installation, so I prefer to help the people that need it more. But I can't really think of any one array that stands out. They're all just a pile of solar panels to me, I guess. Just helping the environment.
Sure. So also in the chat from David Halliburton, we have, what is your opinion of thin film solar cells?
Don't buy them.
Don't buy them. Okay.
Yeah, an old retired Honeywell engineer said it to me pretty well. He says, everything wears out doing what it's doing. And if you have more material, it's going to last longer than if you have less material. Just without going through a lot of fancy math. But I bought some thin film, I guess from Northern Tool. This was going back about 15 years ago.
Mhm.
And after about 5 years, they dropped to their about half the output.
Oh.
And so I took them back to Northern Tool and I said, these things are dying pretty quickly. Well, the other clue was they only had a 10-year warranty.
Mm.
And then the guy says, well, don't leave them out in the sun. And I said, well, they're solar panels. And, so he said, well, their thin film is really more for camping and they're lightweight, so you can backpack them in this lot. He was trying to talk around the whole thing. And then they actually replaced them with a monocrystalline panel. And
Oh, well, good.
Yeah.
You got a good result.
so yeah, so I use the polycrystalline, monocrystalline, the traditional thick solar panels is what I'd buy. I wouldn't waste your money on thin film because they're not going to last as long as a thicker substrate.
Mhm. Okay.
One extra thing about thin film is they don't need full sun. They can be cloudy that day and they'll produce power better than mono and poly. So
Okay, maybe so. I don't know, but the longevity isn't there, so if you're serious about them.
yeah, they degrade at almost 1% per year, whereas the other ones degraded about, I don't know, 0.5 to 0.75 per year percent.
Yeah, the thin films I had were quite a bit worse than that. Maybe I just had a bad brand. I don't know.
Yeah. I've had some from what is that? Harbor Freight, been running for, I don't know, 20 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Are they still can you measure the output? Are still getting a decent
They're
output on
still
them?
they're still outputting. I don't know what the output is at this point. I haven't looked at them in a while.
Yeah.
They're small ones. They're only like 10 watts, 12
Oh,
watts.
yeah.
They're really
Boys.
small ones. But apparently they can take in power on cloudy days.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a bit of a different use case, which I could see someone out camping. I mean, they're not going camping
Yeah.
for a weekend or something, and they want to be able to power their radio or whatever. And yeah, they want it to just whether
Yeah, you
it's
don't want to
sunny or
lug a
cloudy,
60-pound solar panel
right?
out camping. You want a little thin film roll up, and it's fine for that. And they
Yeah.
stick them in calculators and whatever. But I'm just saying they're not robust, hermetically sealed, or they're not for longevity for what we do. I wouldn't use.
Right, for putting
Yeah,
on.
I know some ham radio operators that use them for parks on the air. So
Yeah,
they'll take them out for a weekend once a month.
right. That's good. That's fine. Yeah.
And in the chat, David Halburn wrote, maybe the thin film technology has improved in the last 15 years. And another case I've heard besides the camping case, because they're lightweight take, is that some of these big utility scale, multi-acre fields, some of those are the thin film technology. And I'm sure that they've researched their payback because it's a big corporate investment to get, 5 acres of land and put up rows and rows of thin film panels. And I'm sure they've analyzed how much degradation versus the cost, including the cost of putting it out there in the land. And then, of course, they might plan on refurbishing after a certain number of years, because I've heard that's what's being done now in the wind industry, that if you have a really good wind site, it doesn't pay to leave up a 100K multi-decade old wind turbine when you could repower it and put something else in that good wind resource location. Obviously, it costs money to do that repowering, but if it's
Yeah.
economically worth it, you might reuse that 100K one somewhere else, but put in a 1 megawatt wind turbine on that spot to get more wind out of that good resource.
Yeah, that's what we did at GE. We put longer blades and upgrade them.
Mhm.
Sometimes replace them if they're really old. But yeah, in the same wind farm, you just upgrade the wind turbines.
Yeah. So do you have a number of wind farms around where you live, Mark?
No, not but NIMBYism is very strong in Virginia.
Okay.
They county by county, they have a lot of anti-wind ordinances for some reason in Virginia. The whole state of Virginia, I don't think has a wind farm yet. I mean, I have a little birdie in my backyard, but it's just residential, small residential,
Yep.
toys rather than, we don't have any utility scale wind right now, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah, I have one friend, he's got family property up in Oklahoma. And so he's told me that, yeah, the contracting company came in and put in like a wind farm with a dozen or two wind turbines, and one ended up on their family property. So they get some royalties
Yeah,
from Oklahoma. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. If you can get one on your lot, yeah, you get a couple thousand or something a year per turbine or something. So it's pretty good if you can be in the right place at the right time, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure his family property was owned in the family long before anybody analyzed wind resources and thought about putting up a wind farm. But yeah, are there going to be some soon off the coast of Virginia? Maybe some offshore.
Yeah, Dominion has I forget who's doing it. Siemens. I don't think they're GE wind turbines, but they have a couple up as samples, and they said they're going to expand it. So they're doing some offshore, but it's not real large yet. More up in Massachusetts, they have a pretty good wind farm off of the,
Oh,
I think it's
good.
some Nantucket or something. I flew over it a few months ago, and it looked fairly substantial. I flew over like kind of like 30 of them out in the ocean.
Ah, okay. All right. Because yeah, I've heard that up until now, most of the offshore hardware has been produced in other countries, but there's companies looking at doing that domestically in the US.
Yeah, they're just so big. You almost it really is a lot more cost effective to do it locally. Like Vestas from Denmark, they're located in Colorado now, just so they can
Oh.
produce the nacelles, outside of Denver, and then
Mhm.
the blades. I think they're out in Brighton, Colorado, and down in Pueblo. They
Mhm.
do the generators and whatnot. So they put it all together and then distribute it around the country. And like with GE, they're down in Pensacola, doing the nacelles, and also Greenville, South Carolina. So
Mhm.
they try to put the big stuff together in the same country and then distribute it around.
Mhm. Okay. Well, here in Houston, we have a very large port, and you drive past there and you can't help but see the wind turbine blades flying
Oh
up
yeah,
on the territory of the port, being ready to be moved somewhere.
yeah. Some of them are cut in half. They have like pins that
Ah,
put them together because they've gotten so long. So they have
yeah.
the blades in two sections.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Okay.
Mm.
Good. More questions, comments?
Oh,
Oh,
would it be okay to
conversions. Yeah, but please
invite
grab the
some of
mic
our,
right behind you.
so,
Somebody in the room was just asking about topics, and I said, yeah, anything goes. So,
Hello. So I was just wondering, do people still do conversions, and are there like, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for?
Support, maybe?
Yeah, like support for doing conversions?
so Mark, did you hear the question?
you mean electric car conversions?
Yes.
He said yes.
Our club doesn't do conversions anymore.
Mhm. Anymore. Ah, okay.
Yeah.
We
Like,
had a speaker do from fuel to electric as a website that supports conversions, so that they will either connect you with somebody locally and help you through the process. And yeah, so that's one resource. We have people in the John Atwood is doing a conversion right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we have several people that are, so it's not, they're, I think they're increasing. They're beginning to ship packs, a motor and a battery pack. and for certain cars and certain conversions that like they used to do, for a VW, it's some common platform. So I think it's increasing, not decreasing. Yeah. You're interested, obviously. Yeah. What are you thinking about?
Oh. So I was thinking of converting like an American car. So, but it's not one that's commonly done. So I was like, maybe if you guys collaborate and figure out how to do it. I figured it'd probably be easier just to change the engine and transmissions together instead of trying to figure out the electronically controlled ones. So that's why I was kind of had questions.
So there are folks out there that are taking damaged Teslas that have good motors or good power packs, but getting basically Tesla components. I know there's an outfit out in California that's done that with a variety of different vehicles, from compacts on up to SUVs. So let Google be your friend.
Okay. I was thinking Nissan Leaf in this case because the motors are a lot less. But
Yeah, that could be a donor vehicle too. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a fair number of people out there that are taking Nissan Leaf battery packs and repurposing them for home storage. I think we even have somebody in the club that's done that.
Yeah. Anytime there's some vehicle that's been declared total and is not worth reconstituting as it was, but it's got a lot of good parts, they can be used in a future electric vehicle, including one that, you start with whatever you have as the donor vehicle. Yep.
There's a Tesla Model S. I don't remember what year it is, on Facebook Marketplace in Houston for $5,000, and it needs a new big battery. So there's a place up north on the side on North Houston that one of the guys from the club replaced his battery. I think he bought top of the line 18 grand, and I think the bottom of the line was 11,000. So for 17,000, you can have almost a brand new Model S. So
Yeah.
it's possible
Mm-hmm.
to rejuvenate, a car that all it needs is a battery. These guys are selling them for almost nothing.
What's the mic?
2007 Dodge Charger.
2007
Dodge Charger.
Oh yeah, that'd be a good one.
Yeah, 2007 Dodge Charger. And right now Colin is typing it into the, what's the full name of the website? Fuel2electric with a digit 2.com. And so we'll see what the Fuel2electric has to say here. Website. I think this is going out online, so people should be able to see it. For the Zoom participants,
It's going out there, and I'm actually going there to look at my vehicle.
Well, good.
A.
More powerful?
No, A.
A? Okay, go for A.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
So do-it-yourself kits range from 13,000 on up, depending on what you need. Yeah. And it depends on if you need everything in the kit. I mean, this is a complete kit to do the whole job. If you have other,
Resource anyway. Yeah.
Well,
You might check it out. It's
Yeah.
because apparently they can guide you through the process.
Okay.
Yeah. The guy seemed very interesting, and he's he's a speaker here, and he's on our YouTube channel. You might check him out.
okay.
Yeah.
Someone had a comment in the chat about PDF. I don't know.
can you grab the mic so that people online can hear what you're saying?
Was there a comment in the chat for PDF or something?
Comment.
Somebody comment in the chat. There's a bunch of comments.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one you're referring to. Something, I mean, there's about the ERCOT grid link, but I don't think there's any.
Robert is offering, he's got a bunch of books.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Robert is offering that too.
okay.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Sure,
Okay.
I'll take
Put you in
that.
touch.
Yeah.
Put you in touch.
Yeah, because over the decades, there's been so many conversions. There are a number of people who've written books about them. They're available like in the public library, places like that. So that's a good place to start. But yeah, if we have someone who's wanting to donate books,
Yeah, Robert. Yeah.
Robert, okay, yeah. Because yeah, the way to keep the cost down is to do more of the do-it-yourself part of things. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay,
And
cool.
and if you can source other parts, that's why I brought up that it talked about kits, full kits from $13,000. That's because someone has figured out all the parts that you need to do a complete job. But if you have some of those parts yourself already, then obviously you can keep the cost down.
Obviously, what we need as a club is somebody to help with conversions. We need a group that's working on conversions. I think you're not the only one.
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe some young person could start something like that inside our group. What's your name?
TJ.
CJ.
TJ.
Yeah.
Well, you guys can see my conversion if you want to see it.
You need a resource page where everybody can go and say, hey, this is what I did. This is how I did it. These are the parts. This is where I got my parts. And then somebody else can look at it and go, hey, I could do that.
Mhm.
Yeah, we need to get that.
Yeah. So TJ, you want to go ahead and connect with these guys? Yeah.
Get you connected.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Mhm.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody who's on Zoom care to show any pictures? You can do a screen share and show us anything if you have some
Rice University has a conversion project. See if we can
microphone.
contact them. Yeah, that's in the chat. Yeah.
Mhm.
Robert.
Yeah, I mean, I can show you guys the conversion right now. I'm
Yeah.
standing at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
You got something you can put on the share. Yeah.
I guess there's a
Yeah.
bunch on EV album too. They have like a few hundred of them on
Yeah.
that website.
EV album has things, but yeah, we see you live now, John. Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to switch the camera.
There. Yeah. All right.
So I don't know if y'all want me to share it.
Yes, we see the back of the vehicle there. Yeah.
You want me to share it so everybody sees it on the main screen?
So in the room, yeah, it's showing the back of the cab of the pickup and then the rails.
Right. So that's a 2018 Model S motor.
Ah.
And so this is the new axle I had made.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy right here is a Dion axle. And then I just mounted the charge port.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the Tesla charge port.
Oh, yeah. A J3400. All right.
It's the NAC port. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The SAE gave the NACS port the number 3400. So just after I got used to 1772 as the SAE number for the lower AC only charging of cars, and in particular, a lot of plug-in hybrids use the J1772. Now the number to remember is the J3400, the SAE number for the NACS port.
And so I guess you can't really tell, but that's a Model 3 battery underneath the cab.
Mhm. Great.
What is it? Awesome. So, Frontier.
Yeah. And then there's another motor in the front.
Oh,
All right.
So that's the front motor. And then right now, while I'm listening to you guys talk, oh, there's the other conversion, and it's a table right now. So here are all the conversion parts. So I got the electronic brake caliper, I got the cooling fittings. Here's the accelerator pedal. It's going to go in the Frontier from the Tesla. Cooling hoses. I just made up these guys. And I'm working on this stupid box over here. So that's the charger for the Tesla.
Woohoo.
And I had to relocate it into this box that I made.
What's the truck? The truck is a Nissan, or it was a Nissan Frontier. Yeah.
Yeah, it still is a Nissan Frontier. Yeah, so anyway, I tilted the bed so I could work on it. And then I got a flashlight, so maybe you can see the battery better. You can see the contactors.
Yeah.
How many hours do you have in that? It's a lot of work.
It's like forever. I started pulling this vehicle apart 3 years ago. And so every year I just do like a major component. And like I moved and I did air conditioning work, and I can't work on it every weekend, but I'm back at it. I finally got the rear motor mounted where I want it to be mounted, and I got the axles out. I should be getting the axles in a few weeks. And then of course I made this guy, and I have the hubs. And I'm just gonna mock up brakes. So I just got a whole bunch of parts for Christmas. So these are rims and brake kit.
Very good. Okay. Other questions for John?
I have a question here.
Yeah.
Is it gonna do regen braking or just friction?
Yep, regen. Because they're Tesla motors, so they'll do regen.
Okay, pretty cool.
Perfect.
Yeah, they're both induction motors. So they're both around the same 2018 vintage. So, and then I just got these adapters. So those are the axle for the axle shafts.
Good.
So yeah, just a bunch of parts and a bunch of time, a bunch of fabrication.
Mm-hmm. But you're working toward a great result. So yeah. Good. Thanks, John. Thanks for showing us those. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the battery basically runs like full cab. The battery is like 6 feet long because it's a Model 3 battery.
Yeah. Okay.
Battery is definitely the hardest part. Like, where are you going to put it? And
Yeah.
it's the most expensive part.
Mm-hmm. Good. Good. Okay. So there you go, TJ. Yeah. He was applauding
Yep.
there, hearing more from you. So
Right. And then you'll have all this junk. That's my other conversion. And now I use it as a table.
is that Watson the Datsun?
Yeah. Here's my
Oh.
table.
It's a table. Okay.
Yeah. And then the brakes locked up, and I've been having trouble getting the pads. So
Ah.
there's always something.
So it's not drivable at the moment anyway. Okay.
No, I took the pads apart.
Mhm. Okay. All right. More questions for John or for Mark or anything that people would like to bring up to discuss? So one thing that Colin and I and others have talked about is having some kind of a Cars and Brews event. And so we'd like to do that. So anybody who's got an idea of a place near where they live or not near where they live, where they'd like to do that, we'll see if we can instigate some trouble somehow. Of course, right now with the cold, wet, people may not want to be thinking about beer gardens or something, but spring will be coming, I've heard. So.
Next week.
Yeah, so. All right. So, Mark, anything else you'd like to bring up?
Well, I guess a couple questions. How many members do you all have?
So, Colin, what do you want to give as a number?
That's okay. So we have a mailing list of 500. I would say
Oh.
we probably have maybe 100 active, and maybe we've got 20 online and 10 in the room. That's pretty typical. It probably boils down to under 50 that are active. Would
Yeah,
that be
the,
your
the
guess?
faces change at different times.
Yeah.
I noticed Mike Zutek's name in the list there, and he's really big into wind. He's doing a lot of work for different companies to evaluate engineering numbers on wind projects and drag and on vehicles and things like that. It's always nice to see when Mike Zutek has a vehicle with the little flags taped on it, to evaluate how much drag it's doing. And
Yeah.
the Sweet Brothers and everybody else and folks are on different projects. And I know Rob Reynolds bought a new EV just a couple months ago, and it was great getting a ride in that. And so, yeah, lots of different faces at different times in different meetings. Yeah.
Do you mind if I invite some of our club people to join your your Zoom meeting here?
Of course. of
Yeah,
course,
absolutely. The more the
Okay.
merrier. Yeah, we always like more discussion and
Seems like you got some interesting people and projects going on. We're kind of a small area, so
Mhm.
and the people that have EVs here, they're all pretty much factory right now, so we're not really doing conversions anymore, per se.
I'll add you to the mail list, and if you have anybody else that you want to add, let me know. Yeah, we need to do a better job of getting some younger people and some women. We're not doing very well in that area, and I'm not sure how to approach it really, but finding somebody that's passionate, yeah, is the way.
Yeah.
Nice lady in the room said, "Bring wine." That'll get more women.
That won't hurt.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I happen to call it, cars and brews, but it could be, any beverage of choice kind of thing. We'd like to do something, whether it be on a, Saturday evening or Friday evening or something like that. A lot of that tends to be more outside. So of course, when the weather's nicer, it can be more applicable. But whether we can just start something up. I did try something down in the Clear Lake area, but of course that's really distant for a lot of folks in Houston. Houston's just really spread out. Yeah, and so okay, yeah, St. Arnold's, yeah, that's true. Not too long ago, they expanded and have a really nice beer garden area. Yeah, and so that might be a location to pick.
Eighth Wonder downtown, right? Okay, right, yeah.
Harder for parking at Eighth Wonder. Okay, and the place that you mentioned, it's actually called Nice Wine. Oh, okay. Nice Winery is the name of the nice winery. Okay.
Eighth Wonder has some interesting cannabis product too. Yeah, yeah. You need some variety.
Yeah. Okay, but yeah, someplace, because you mentioned Eighth Wonder doesn't have good parking. I mean, that's the thing, is a lot of times people want to bring their cars, and whether we don't necessarily do something as a true car event, but somebody might like to go out and see the car of somebody else because it's a different brand than what they're familiar with or whatever. And so, yeah, to be able to park some cars where people can get to them, it's not, 7 blocks away or something, is kind of helpful.
The lowrider from
Oh,
Oh,
okay. The
nice.
Lowrider Club
The
uses
lowrider,
St. Arnold.
nice.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah. All right, well, good.
We could do more in the, I've always been interested in addressing sort of what you're talking about, TJ, with, you know, there are, groups that are working with, local colleges to
Mhm.
start EV classes, just the
Oh,
basics of
okay,
EVs.
yeah.
And
yeah.
there are companies that will sell you, a car that you can assemble, the high school
Okay. Mhm,
can assemble.
mhm,
They're expensive, but they give you a curriculum also.
mhm,
And then next year, you know, you take it apart and do it again.
mhm,
Uh, we're going to need some people that can work on all these cars.
mhm,
It's, so there's so many areas where we could be active, and,
Yeah.
we need some people with some energy. Yeah.
mhm. Well, we did have the one U of H professor who came and he was talking about starting up a lab type thing for EVs, and I haven't seen him. I didn't see him at the social in December, but he's popped in every once in a while.
Yeah, and we did go to the HCC Automotive, and they did have, you know, some representation of
Okay.
EV, but not
Mhm.
what they're gonna need. They're gonna have to have.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with our involvement with the Houston Metro and them getting more electric buses, they're probably, I mean, we know they already have a team of diesel mechanics. At some point, they're going to want to have some mechanics in their bus barns to be able to
And-
handle problems when things get hit on buses or whatever, you know, to,
Well, and the one guy they did have was ex-military because they were using the motor from an M1 tank
ah,
in the bus.
in the
Remember
bus.
that?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
so he was ex-military. He,
Uh-huh.
you know, Abrams tank uses electric motor. Yeah.
Oh, because it must be
That's the main drive.
it's
is
a
it-
diesel electric, kind of like train.
Exactly.
Exactly, it is diesel electric.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's common on the rails, the trains. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very
locomotives.
common.
Okay.
It's a hybrid, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so yeah. Anything else here in the chat? So Robert Sanchez, what does your chapter do to get media attention? Your YouTube video was newscast, community radio, college radio, environmental clubs, etc. Sub-members over the years appeared on a local community station, 90.1 FM KPFT here. So Mark, what does your group do for media attention?
Well, we were at the Earth Day event every year, and then there's a couple other events that pop up. There's a maker space fair, and anytime there's a rally, there's Touch a Truck in July, where they have electric car section, and I'll set up a REEVA table and bring my Tesla or Bolt or something like that. Other guys bring their stuff. So anytime there's an outside event that's sort of greeny weeny, we'll get some people together with electric cars, and I'll, you know, set up a table with handouts and stuff like that. But I guess it would be nice to
Your
get
sheets
a
have
little more.
beats.
What's that?
Sorry. I'm trying to play your video.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, thanks for coming. Come again next month, please. We'll keep the discussion going. All right. Yeah. So-
Mark, I was trying to play your video, from the.
Keep going, 3 seconds.
Yeah, video is always good.
So
Did you know that traditional sheets are
Today, we're in Botetourt County, just outside of Fincastle, talking about renewable energy, specifically here, solar panels. Of course, a lot of people like solar because it's good for the environment, but anymore, it's also a good way to save money. And that's the topic in John Carlin's Virginia. From a windmill to a home-built electric car to a geothermal heating system for his home, and of course, solar panels, lots of solar panels. If there's a way to produce renewable energy, Mark Hanson has it.
These lights here are emergency lights. They run off 24 volts off the batteries down in the basement, and that's stored from a wind turbine.
Though his home is still attached to the electric grid like yours and mine, he seldom has need for electricity from the power company. His bills have gone from $200 a month to the base fee of $27. I got to tell you, today is cloudy, overcast, cold, downright miserable. But even on a day like today, when we look at the electric meter, it's spinning backwards, which means Mark is actually sending power back to the grid instead of using it here in the house. Of course, all that equipment out in the yard isn't free, so it'll be a while before Mark realizes his full savings.
It's about an 8-year payback, and the equipment's guaranteed for 25 years. So, so beyond that, it's essentially free energy from the sun.
Then there's the custom Carmen Ghia he converted from gas to electric.
So there's 36 cells. There's 6 battery packs, if you will. So it's 120 volts DC.
He drives it about 70 miles a day, 350 miles a week. When he gets home, he plugs it into the house where the solar panels recharge the car. For Mark, it's all about saving money and staying away from coal-fired, carbon footprint enlarging energy. So what if it takes a while to recharge?
It takes a little while to get the electrons through the small hose. So it's about 8 hours.
In fact, Hanson and a group of other renewable energy enthusiasts are such believers that they've formed a club that undertakes renewable energy projects for free. You buy the materials and the REEVA Club will install it. Mark Howard is a club member and licensed electrician who specializes in solar.
It's just something I believe in. It's a free natural resource that's renewable. And it's something that will improve the economic situation if we improve the amount of use of it here in Virginia.
The fact that solar panels have come down significantly in price has made a difference. Hanson and Howard feel that if they can reduce labor costs to near zero, more people will jump on the renewable bandwagon.
It's a form of energy that requires, after the system is installed, requires nothing as far as maintenance.
They'll also help you install a windmill or build an electric car. Why go through all this?
Well, I've been doing it since the 70s. But every 5 years I get bored and convert one.
Mark say they are equal parts environmentalists and pragmatists who just want to save money by obtaining inexpensive energy. You may not want a yard full of solar panels, but Hanson sees only beauty.
I see it as free energy, green energy, and I'm not using coal-fired power. I'm using clean energy. So, I see it as to me, it's pretty.
So thanks to Mark for the tour of his house and all that great energy information. If you'd like to contact REEVA, the club I mentioned in my story, and have them come help maybe with a project at your house, I put all the contact information for their website on my blog at fox2127.com.
All right.
Thanks.
Is being called the Tesla of heaters. It can warm up houses for practically zero
Very
cost.
good. Very
This
good.
game-changer
That
invention will
showed
keep you
all
warm
good stuff
without
going
costing you
on
a
there in
fortune.
Virginia.
You can crank up the heat in any room with
I like that. Yep. Okay. Any last words anybody like to bring up, Mark or anyone? Otherwise, we'll wrap it up here for our January 2025 meeting.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks so much, Mark. Yeah, this has been great.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Good meeting everybody.
Yeah, but well, let's keep the interaction going. I mean, Mark, you got to see what John Atwood's got in his garage there and the status of his projects. And I'd mentioned the name Watson the Dotson, so that's a conversion that John's had for quite a while. Just doesn't have to be on the road at the moment, but with break work needed.
Useful table.
Yeah, but yeah, because John's brought that out when we've had cars at IKEA and other places, and so it's always great to see that. Yeah, and the center of Houston, they have what they call Discovery Green. It's been out there, and yeah, generally they've given us a sidewalk to park our vehicles on, and then just anybody going through that area gets to ask questions of the car owners. So, all right, we'll
That's
wrap
great.
up for today. Thanks so much.
Thanks, y'all doing a lot of good work. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you
Good
again,
night.
Mark. Yep. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.